live. Today's show is sponsored by The Truth About How to Save Money and Time. Amazingly Simple Business Success Tips by Lisa DeShoram and Brenda Warren. You need to connect with the Power Team so you can learn how to save money and time. Welcome to Talk to Me. I'm your host, Brenda Warren, the solutionist. I see things other people often miss. I help people turn their mess or their mission into a message for the masses. And today we are going to be talking about stress. Did you guys know that stress is at an epidemic level in the workplace and it's impacting our nation by over $300 billion? And my guest today, baby, is none other than Miss Julie Lowe. She is a certified life and success coach. I want to repeat that, life and success coach, and the founder of Socially Aligned. She helps high achieving women reduce stress and find alignment before they burn out, or better yet, before they burn it all down. That's the part I love because I'm like, sometimes I want to burn it all up. But
Right.
she has helped thousands of women entrepreneurs grow their business over the past decade. Julie's aligned life coaching method is a holistic approach that caters to the whole person, mind, body, and soul. She specializes in teaching nervous system regulation, stress management, and subconscious reprogramming to thrive in both life and business. Julie has been published on Huffington Post, Highly Sensitive Refuge, Business Rock Magazine, and been featured in Female Entrepreneur Association. She's also been on the podcast Deep Rooted Bliss, among others, and the Better You Network radio show, and has also spoken at MogulCon. She is the founder of Socially Aligned. She's going to give us three daily rituals today on how we can reduce or eliminate stress in less than 15 minutes. But before she goes into all that, we're going to to learn a little bit about Julie. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. What an introduction.
I wanted to make sure people knew who you are because you are a powerhouse. And sometimes, we don't always what do you call it, toot our own horns or let people know what we do or why we do. So we want to start right there. Julie, what made you start Socially Aligned?
Yeah, so I started Socially Aligned about 10 years ago. And for the past 10 years, I've been helping entrepreneurs grow their businesses with Facebook advertising and
Mm-hmm.
marketing solutions. And it's a really successful consulting business. But I really got into helping with stress and anxiety in 2020. It really became a mission for me. It's one of those things where sometimes you look back and you're like, oh, all the roads were leading here, right? I have been kind of an anxious sort ever since I was a child. Always super sensitive, and really kind of thought like maybe there was just like something wrong with me for being so sensitive growing up. And it all kind of came to a head in 2020 during the pandemic. Had my kids home, trying to homeschool and work full time in my business. And it all just kind of came to a head. And that's when I really started focusing on stress and anxiety and how do we manage all this, as entrepreneurs, as leaders, how do we manage the juggle of daily life and then the stress of the pandemic and the world the way it is these days?
That's a big concern for a lot of people, especially now when you have us all confined, just doing a lot of things differently than what we had in the past. And each new change during the pandemic has created anxiety and stress that maybe wasn't there before. I coined a phrase when it first started called isolation frustration.
Mm,
I knew that a lot of people were frustrated with the isolation that the pandemic has brought. But I also know that right now people are frustrated with the fact that we are starting to open ourselves up again. So that's why I thought your 3 daily rituals would be very well received with people that are listening. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but I also wanted to know, for you, what has been one of the big takeaways as you had to shift? Because you started this 10 years ago and then the pandemic hit. What was one of the biggest things you had to change for yourself to reduce your own anxiety?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in 2020, it was like what, March or so, they sent everybody home. They sent the kids home. My youngest was 8 at the time, had undiagnosed at the time ADHD, diagnosed now.
Mhm.
Second grader trying to do Zoom classrooms. My teenager was trying to do it on his own. And it was a lot. And I've worked from home for a very long time, but having everybody, the family of 4 in the house and like the interruptions of having to help my kid all day, I was already working 40 plus hours a week. And it just like strung out my day even longer. And my patience became very
Mhm.
thin. To where my anxiety got to the point that I actually had to get help, from my doctor. And I realized, like I didn't want to be on anxiety meds and everything,
Mhm.
but I knew I needed help. And I even did talk therapy remotely. And it was like somewhat helpful, but it just wasn't the thing. So
Right.
I'm a bit of a nerd and a, and a lifelong learner. So I went all in. I was like, I got to figure something out. So once the medication kind of helped bring everything to a level, I found a life coaching program, a
Mhm.
coaching certification program. It was like, 400 hours of training or something. Here I am
Mhm.
with kids at home, homeschooling, running my business. And I'm like, yeah, sign me up. So I dove all in to learning all kinds of things from hypnotherapy to EFT to different mindset techniques. But the thing that just rocked my world, totally changed everything, was learning about nervous system regulation. And I learned about this in the coaching program. That that was like one of those things where it was like, oh, like the skies opened up. Like, where has this been all my life? And it changed everything. It made me really realize that the reason why I had never been able to get my anxiety under control my whole life is because I was going about it all wrong. And to me,
Mhm.
nervous system regulation was the answer.
Now, I'm not familiar with that term, and maybe some of our viewers aren't also. What is nervous system regulation?
So what it really all kind of boils down to is that stress, anxiety, it's a nervous system response.
Okay.
Stress lives in our body first. So when you think about it, stress, anxiety, it's really our body going into fight or flight. So
Mm.
it's our body, like our primitive wiring, trying to keep us safe. The problem is that whenever our brain senses some sort of danger, it doesn't do a really good job of differentiating between something that's like truly life threatening and something that just needs our attention. So I kind of think of this as like the amygdala kind of like hijacks our brain. And that's kind of like the fear center, you could think of it. And I always like to kind of picture the amygdala as like this dear, sweet friend that wants nothing more than to keep you safe. And she's
Mhm.
always like on the lookout for threats, but she's kind of nearsighted. Like I picture
Okay.
her with thick glasses, right? And she's on the lookout for danger. She's got her hand like over a buzzer ready to sound the alarm, but she can't tell the difference between taxes and tigers. She can't tell
Oh,
the difference between something that's going to kill us and something that just needs our attention. So sometimes we get this like a false alarm,
okay.
right? Where it's just like, hey, you need to pay attention to this. But the problem is now we're in fight or flight. And like our whole body changes, our nervous system kind of rewires everything. Like cortisol goes up, adrenaline goes up. The amygdala is not like the clear thinking part of our brain, and we don't think as clearly. Our digestion actually kind of slows down. So that's why a lot of people that are like chronically stressed actually have like digestion, stomach problems,
Mhm.
and our whole body changes. Like we're ready literally to fight for our lives or to run. We can't live that way though, right? So we're
Right.
all going to have stress. We're never going to like totally eliminate all the stressors in our lives ever. But the problem is some of us live in fight or flight. Like we can actually
Mhm.
stay there, like just kind of stewing in stress for years. And so our job is to really go like be able to recognize like, I know what this is. I'm in fight or flight. I'm super stressed. I can't live here. What do I need to do about it? And that's where all these like tips and strategies that I give come into play so that we can recognize, oh, this is something going on in my body and actually have control. There's something I can do about it. Because sometimes I know I didn't realize there was really much I could do about it for years. I just thought, this is life. This is where I live.
Now, that's a feeling I understand as someone that has been diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder. I lived my life in constant stress before I learned about power breathing and just stress management in general.
Yeah.
But when you're approaching people with this training that you do you ever get pushback from people that just simply believe that there is no solution?
For sure. I mean, because we've lived this way for so long and we don't know any other way. And part of it is we do have to take responsibility for the fact that we do have control. We got to take our power back and know, like, okay, yeah, there can be some outside circumstances that truly are not pleasant, and I have the power to take control of how I respond,
Hmm.
how I react, and how I take care of my body. And so yeah, sometimes people don't want to hear that they have to take responsibility for certain things. But I think when you realize that this is something happening in your body, it's not just like, I always thought it was this mindset. Like if you had stress, you just needed to deal with it with mindset, like toughen up, grit your way through, or like think better thoughts. And I thought that was kind of like the only solution. But when you realize, oh, this is my body actually trying to keep me safe,
Hmm.
and this is like a primal response happening here. And our bodies are actually wired to look for the negative, to look for the bad thing, the negativity bias is a real thing, right? Our brains are wired to look for the problem, hyper focus on the problem, and see things negatively more so than positively. And so I think if anything, that actually allowed me to not beat myself up so much, and not to think, oh God, there's just something wrong with me. I'm just so sensitive, and like, why am I stressed out? Like, I've got a good life. Why am I so stressed out? And it actually, in some ways, took some pressure off of me, because I was like, I'm not broken. There's not something wrong with me. I do have kind of a sensitive nervous system. I do think I'm a little bit more prone to stress, but there's things I can do about it. And like, it's not my fault. It's my body trying to keep me safe. And there's things I can do about it.
So you mentioned that it's not my fault. So is that something that you try to uh, enforce for the people you work with, that the stress they're feeling, the things that is happening is not their fault, but it's a normal part of life?
It really is, because like I said, it's your body, your nervous system even trying to keep you safe, trying to look out for danger, and just trying to alert you to things that need your attention. And we are literally wired this way. I mean, if you think back to like caveman days, we had to be on the lookout, for the tiger in the bushes. We couldn't just be off like chasing butterflies, right? Or we wouldn't
Mhm.
live. So our bodies are really wired to be this way. And it takes like conscious effort to overcome that negativity bias, to overcome our natural wiring, to live the life that we want to live. Anxiety and chronic stress, it's not like a death sentence, or it's not something that's like, oh, you're not going to be able to do big things with your life. There's a lot of super successful people that have anxiety, that have chronic stress, and they still do big things because they figure out ways to manage it and to live with the stressors in their life and still be successful. So it's not your fault. This is how we're wired, and it's up to you to take control and do things to get the anxiety under control.
Well, I want to pause right here for a special announcement that may stress a few people out. So we're going to need those three rituals when we come back. The summit started June 9th, but it doesn't end until June 12th. The Happy Vagina Rally. Go to happyvaginarally.com. It's not too late for you to find out what's going on and that you too can have a happy vagina. And here's the best part: even if you're watching this on a replay or after June 12th, do not neglect to find out how you can have a happy vagina by going to the happyvaginarally.com and getting all the information. Your health, your mental well being is often determined by how well you take care of yourself. So don't neglect your vagina. The Happy Vagina Rally is going on right now. A lot of people don't like hearing that word, so that's so we're going to start right there with that and talk about the 3 daily rituals that will eliminate stress in 15 minutes or less. What is number one?
Well, number one, nervous system regulation. No surprise, right?
That's
So
right.
there are some things that you can do that are body-based practices that can help regulate your nervous system. And one of the big things with your nervous system that it really kind of determines how stressed you are and how resilient you are with dealing with stress is your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your body. It runs from your brain through your guts, and they call it vagal tone. Vagal tone determines kind of like how quickly you can bounce back from stress. So a few things that you can do to improve your vagal tone. I always like to give weird tips because I think people will remember them. And there are some weird but simple things that you can do to improve your vagal tone. So one of them is humming or singing. I can't sing a tune, but you can make up a melody. You can put on some music, you can sing, or you could literally do kind of like the om sound or voo. So when you think about the like voo, like that long sound, it's vibrating your vocal cords, which in turn vibrates your vagus nerve, and that improves your vagal tone. And when you think about it, I know like when I'm stressed, I breathe shallow. Most of us do. We breathe up in our chest instead of taking deep belly breaths. Deep belly breath is really good to calm your body down. But sometimes it's really hard when you're chronically stressed and you're used to shallow breathing. But I know for me, when I go voo, that's like a long exhale. You can almost think you're like blowing out birthday candles or something. It's a nice long exhale. And the exhale is actually really important. A lot of people tell you to breathe deeply, which is great, but you really have to have that long exhale. That's a key part of it. So whether you do it with the voo sound or you just do it on your own with a deep breath, but just make sure you do a nice long exhale, that's going to calm down your nervous system and signal to your brain like, okay, we're safe. We can calm down here. Okay. So that's one thing that you can do. And
number two.
Yeah. And then another one for regulating the nervous system that is a little strange, but I like, is you can actually stick one or both of your thumbs in your mouth, so you might want to do this privately. You put them in your mouth kind of like this and you blow out. And it's another thing that signals to your vagus nerve that you can calm down now. So that's
that.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny one, but it works. It can really help in the moment, especially if you feel like maybe you're going to have a panic attack. Yeah. So that's number one, regulate your nervous system. Number two is challenge your thinking. So I know for most of us, like when we get really stressed out, we start spiraling, right? We catastrophize. We feel like, oh my God, it's like the end of the world. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Like everything's falling apart. And we can just let our thoughts run away from us. So what you want to do is throughout the day, challenge your thinking. So if something comes up that is stressing you out, write it down. Delay the worry. Get it out of your head though, put it on paper. And then maybe twice a day, look at your list and really challenge your thinking like, okay, is this a real problem or am I blowing things out of proportion? And I'm just worrying for no real reason about the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? Like really kind of challenge your thinking. Like, is this a real problem? Or am I just stressing myself out maybe for no reason? And if it is a real problem, because obviously we all have real challenges we have to deal with, what can I do about it? Okay. Because I think sometimes we just we know there's a problem, but we don't go into problem solving. We just let it stress us out. And sometimes there's things we can do. You know, if you've got an upcoming presentation, can you prepare for it, right? Can you make some notes? Can you have a plan? Can you make arrangements in your day so you don't get interrupted during that presentation? What can you do? And really focus on your effort, not the outcome. We can't really control the outcome of anything in life, not really, but we can control our effort. So if we could just focus on our effort and what we can control without getting overly obsessive, that is a way healthier mindset than just letting your worries run away from you and worry about things that are completely out of your control.
Those are two good things. So what's number three?
Number three is EFT, emotional freedom techniques. A lot of people also call this tapping. So it's based on the same science as acupuncture, but without the needles. And it's one of those things that when I learned about it, I was like, seems a little weird. Like, I don't know if this would actually work because it involves tapping on your hand and on different points of your face. But it's actually been like really highly scientifically studied. There's been like over 100 clinical studies on it that were peer reviewed. And they actually found EFT to be more effective than talk therapy for reducing anxiety and depression. And I really believe that it's partly because of that amygdala hijack that I was talking about. Okay. So like I said, when you are stressed, when you are anxious, it's like you're really critical thinking brain kind of is a bit offline. It's not as accessible. So like when I did talk therapy, for example, I actually had a panic attack during a session because I
Wow.
was so dysregulated that the therapy actually sent me into a panic attack, because I wasn't regulated enough to think clearly, and I just was so easily triggered actually by the therapy. So EFT kind of bypasses that. You do use a little bit of CBT, like talk therapy, to yourself while you're doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but tapping on these spots on your face actually kind of, it almost like short circuits things so that you can get directly to the problem. And EFT was the one thing that would stop my panic attacks like in their tracks whenever I was in a phase where I was having a lot of them.
So let me get this straight. So that for those people that will watch or listen to the replay, the three things that we can do as daily rituals in 15 minutes or less is challenge our thinking, improve our vagal tone, and EFT tapping.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone doesn't know what EFT is or how to do it, I actually have a free guide on my website that they can grab. It's really simple once you learn it, but you definitely want to learn the points to tap on to get yourself started if you've never done it before.
And Julie's website is showing up on the screen, but for those of you that are listening, it is sociallyaligned.com. It will also be listed in the description so that you can find it. All right, Julie, I thank you for sharing those 3 tips. And now I have some questions for you.
All right, hit me.
Here they are. What is one crucial ingredient for true happiness?
Oh gosh. Ooh, that was a big one. So I think like number one, like really being clear on your values and your purpose. So this is part of the work that I do with women in my coaching, is getting really clear on your values and purpose. Because I talk to so many women that if you ask them like, what's really important to you? What do you love to do? What do you want out of life? They don't always know, not really clearly. And one thing that anxiety does is it really makes us make decisions from a place of fear. So instead of making decisions based on what we really truly want in life, we start making these fear-based decisions without maybe realizing that it's a fear decision, but it's a decision driven by like, I really want to do that thing, but oh, that really scares me or that really stresses me out. And it's just like, it's too much and I don't think I can handle it. And then we end up not doing the things that we really want to do. But if we learn how to kind of really manage our anxiety, think about all the things it opens up, like all the things that you can do that maybe you never thought you could do before because you've got, kind of life more under control. And then you can really start thinking about, well, what do I want? What do I really value in life? Like, what is my purpose and what do I want to accomplish? And then you can start making these really aligned, empowered decisions that come from a place of clarity on what's important to you. And you can lean into that instead of leaning back and leaning away because of these fear-based decisions. So I think having that clarity and coming from a place of this is what I care about and this is what's important to me and this is what I want. I think when you are clear on that, things get so much easier.
Okay. Based on what you do when working with women in the arena of eliminating their stress, what is the one issue you feel like they don't talk about enough?
I think a lot of people, they don't think there's anything they can do about their stressors, and they really get into blaming themselves, making themselves wrong, and then just really limiting themselves. And I think sometimes, it's not always comfortable to dig into like the root cause of some of these issues, because so many of these issues, so many of these things that are limiting us and holding us back, they stem from our childhood, like things that happened to us way back when. And if you don't really take the time to dig into it, even if it's kind of uncomfortable and work through these problems, you can't always get really clear on what you want and what's holding you back and move through it. So a lot of times once the women get to me, that like they're ready to work on that stuff, but I think it's pretty common to just kind of, life is so busy for everyone, and to just kind of like, let's go through life robotically instead of really taking the time to think about what you want and what you want to do, and like what's kind of causing the stress and what's holding you back. So I'd say that would be the big thing.
Okay. What is one thing life is teaching you right now as you work with all these high achieving women as it relates to anxiety?
Know that we can do big things. Even if
Mhm.
even if we are stressed, even if we are anxious. I mean, like you said at the top of the show, like stress is at epidemic levels. And no matter what you do in life, we all have stress.
Mhm.
And so I think like whenever we really look at what's going on in our life and really face things, I think that we can do big things, even if I mean, I consider myself an introvert, and
Mhm.
like I said, I've had a lot of struggles with anxiety, but we can work through this stuff, and we can work with this, and we can kind of take our anxiety and turn it into excitement, excited energy instead of
Mhm.
labeling it as anxiety. And it's not just like a personality trait we have to deal with. There are things that we can do to really to work with it and move through it.
Okay. What would you say people are most surprised to find out about you?
Oh, about me.
Mhm.
Well, sometimes that I'm an introvert and people don't always know that. And then especially, I do this life and success coaching and some of it is a little bit like woo woo, right? Like I do
Mhm.
hypnotherapy, I do EFT, I do timeline techniques. But like I said, for the past 10 years, I've been a Facebook ads manager. So a lot of like
Mhm.
number crunching and stats and dealing with algorithms and things. So I have this background that's like really analytical,
Mhm.
but also highly sensitive and into the mindset realm. And so depending on where you heard about me from, like you may not know both sides.
Okay, then my final question before we do the tap in. What is one thing that you strongly believe every woman should know about anxiety?
That they really need to be working with their nervous system, right? And these body-based practices, because like I said, it starts in your body first. It's not the mind. And I literally start my day every day with some different techniques that I use to really get into my body and regulate my nervous system, the humming and everything that I taught today. There's also some other really simple things you can do, like a pat down and kind of like a neural warm up. That really gets you in your body. And that is the thing. Like if I could tell everybody in the world one thing, it would be that stress and anxiety, it lives in your body first, and you need body-based practices. It's not just a problem you can solve in your head, and to start working with your body, and you're going to see much faster results than with mindset alone. Mindset's important, but the body is where it starts.
That's great. Julie, how is working with all these high achieving women that you come in contact with on a daily basis helping you live your best life now?
Well, it's so empowering because I love how many women are running these like powerhouse businesses at this point.
Mhm.
And it's just really, really encouraging to see the big things that women are up to in the world. And like I said, all of us have these stressors that we deal with, but we can work with it. We can overcome it. And it's been so interesting seeing the behind the scenes of these really successful 6 and 7 figure business owners and to know like you can be crushing it and still be dealing with stuff and you can work through it. So it's just really inspiring to see these women up to big things in the world and dealing with day-to-day life. It's just part of life.
Julie, I just want to thank you for being here with me today. I want you to stand by while I tell people how they can tap into socially aligned. It always starts with the T, that's the transformation. You guys need to switch your mindset to know that Julie has the answer for how you can let go of the anxiety. But you will have to, as she said, challenge your thinking and change your mindset. Then she wants you to announce to the world that you're going to go check out sociallyaligned.com and get some accountability from Julie and her team so that you can eliminate your stress. Then we want you to prepare by making sure you have a nice, calm place, that you're doing some journaling or doing some things that's going to put you in a line with eliminating the stress in your life. Take some time for yourself. Then we want you to imagine what your life will be like once you get in touch with Julie at sociallyaligned.com and find out about the services and products that she offers. And guess what, y'all? You're in for a treat because in the fall, Julie is launching a group coaching that is going to blow you guys away. We're going to have her come back and talk about it on the show. And I'm going to give her an opportunity to say something about it before we tune out today. And then finally, I want you to nurture all the things you learned from Julie as you begin to eliminate the stress, because you don't have to hold on to it. And that's what Julie's all about, making sure she can get to you and help you stop it, and don't go through the burnout before you burn it all down. That's how you tap in and go to sociallyaligned.com to find out all the additional information. Julie, what would you say is going to be one thing that people are going to be able to take away from your upcoming group coaching session?
I'm so excited about it because it combines all these little tips. Like we gave some little fast tips today that can really get you on your way and get you some quick wins to start decreasing your stress. But like I said, you can also think big picture of like, how can you really get it in line with your values and your purpose and what you really want to do in the world, and start making more empowered decisions. And so I think like it's one of those things where you come in maybe for the stress management and realize that you can like create really big empowered things in the world. And I just can't wait to see what the women create after the program.
Well, I can't wait either. I hope you'll come back when the program gets launched and tell us about it so we can announce it to the world. But
Absolutely.
before we go, are there any last tips you want to leave, or thoughts you just want to leave with the audience before we go today?
Yeah, definitely connect with me on Instagram at Coach Julie Lowe. I give a lot of the little quick tips like the humming and the blowing on your thumbs on Instagram. So definitely check that out and stay connected. I'm always sharing information over there.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you again, Julie, for coming here today. It's Face It Friday, and face it, you do not have to live with anxiety and stress, and you want to get in there and go to sociallyaligned.com so you don't have to burn it all down, because she has the answer for you. I'd like to thank you all for watching and tuning in today. And remember, the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely. And face it, sociallyaligned.com is there to help you not reach burnout or burn it all down. Be blessed.